A crowd gathers near the city gate as someone calls out, "Raymond?" in surprise, while a cloaked figure and guards stand silently in the distance. A gloved hand holds a small wooden tablet inscribed with mysterious symbols against a tiled ground background. Amai nervously recognizes Raymond and calls his name while holding a small box. The young man, looking tense and worn, wonders if the approaching group is the founding family. The man clenches his bandaged fist tightly, feeling tension and hesitation as he contemplates his next move. The man stands silently in tattered clothing, while an unseen observer questions the state of his attire. Two armored guards confirm the check and grant the cloaked figure permission to enter. A guard asks if the cloaked figure is known, and another explains he is from the Raymond family, the founding family. The young man questions the mystery behind someone's appearance with evident frustration. They discuss the surprising idea of an aristocrat working as a mercenary and question the significance of the founding family and the White Tower's search for mercenaries. The man looks determined and tense, standing ready with his hood up as light shines from behind him. The young man, catching his breath, thinks to himself that they are so nosy. The man stands alone on a rooftop overlooking the bustling capital city of Camelot under a bright, clear sky. Someone is walking briskly on a cobblestone path, their lace-up boots making distinct sounds with each step. Two figures stand before the towering magic tower, where all the kingdom's guardians reside, as sunlight illuminates the grand structure against a bright blue sky. The man reflects on his past efforts, thinking about how he once worked hard to try to get in there. A character coughs violently amid flames as the text reveals a desperate effort to prevent the fall of the family. The scene shows a chaotic battlefield with fallen soldiers and two figures running amid the aftermath of a war against the Empire. People hurried through burning streets as the narrator explained they had to run from the castle and enter the magic tower to reclaim their territory. The man cries out, "Mother!" with tears in his eyes as someone firmly holds him back amid a fiery background. He shouts desperately that his mother is still alive, his voice trembling with emotion as the fiery background flickers around him. The text reveals a character reflecting that the dream was impossible for them. He stands before three seated figures in a grand hall, recalling he was expelled before applying to the magic tower, while one of the figures calls out his name. The man announces that someone has received 3 failing grades, a first in the Academy's history, his expression serious and solemn. Seijiro coldly tells someone they may be good at theory but cannot even reach the second circle, his intense eyes emphasizing the harsh truth. Seijiro warns that enduring the mana vein narrowing will be difficult and suggests considering a different path instead of becoming a mage. The scene shows a dramatic announcement stating "mana vein narrowing" in bold, emphasizing an urgent or critical situation. The young man clutches his chest with a pained expression, surrounded by a dark red aura that intensifies the tense atmosphere. He explains his struggle with weak mana veins, unable to absorb or release more than a certain amount of mana, his expression filled with distress and sweat. The narration explains that this is the biggest punishment a mage can receive. The man stands alone in darkness, bound by glowing red chains that cast long shadows behind him. The man reflects on his mercenary career while sitting against a wall, surrounded by 3 other men in a sunlit marketplace. The young man sighs and admits to himself that he is still a third-rate mage, his expression a mix of frustration and determination. A character forcefully kicks open a door, causing it to swing wide with visible motion lines. A robed figure announces the end of today's temporary job registration to a seated group, while 2 guards stand watch by the grand doors. Anton angrily complains about waiting for half a day, while the other man questions what they can do next. The young man says that beggars can't be choosers, while remaining silent and thoughtful against the backdrop of a sunset. Anton suggests trying to apply as temporary mages at the museum, but Russell questions what he means. The young man explains that they are only looking for first circle guys for cleaning, standing partially hidden by a brick wall. The character dismisses the idea of going there, saying it would only embarrass them. The man sits against a wall, looking tense and alert, as the sunlight filters through a nearby window. The young man exhales deeply, his expression weary as he looks ahead in the dim light. He sits against a wall in a dimly lit alley, appearing exhausted and contemplative as the warm light filters in. He silently holds a mysterious, glowing artifact in his hand, its light casting shadows on his palm. The scene shows the exterior of the Great Museum Louvrium bathed in warm sunset light. 4 figures stand in the Louvrium Museum hallway as one declares they are the biggest museum in the kingdom. A character informs that aristocrats are coming to visit this week. The man declares that the place must be spotless while reaching out his hand toward a glowing object. He looks tense and slightly sweating, his expression showing unease as he listens intently. Seijiro warns the others to be careful with wind cleaning, emphasizing the consequences if anything gets damaged due to their mistake. Seijiro warns someone to be prepared for the consequences, his expression tense and serious in the dark. The scene shows an open book and a vase on a table with thoughts reflecting skepticism and drama about someone's words. He stands tense between two others, his expression serious as he faces the door, while the others remain partially visible and silent. The man suddenly freezes, his eyes wide with shock as he notices something unexpected. The guy stands before a grand door, surprised and thinking the place looks familiar. This person looks up with a tense expression and utters, "Fantastical species." The scene shows stylized, blurred Korean characters on a white background, conveying a sudden or intense sound effect. The guy stands tense by the door, startled by an unexpected sound. This person moves swiftly through a narrow corridor, the sound of his footsteps echoing intensely. This person notices a sudden vibration and wonders aloud why it is happening. A hand holds a glowing ring tightly against a dark, textured background, emitting a faint mystical light. This person examines a glowing ring in his hand, questioning if it is his mother's ring. This person stands before a large ornate door, looking up at it with a tense expression. He remains silent, his expression tense and eyes fixed as if processing a difficult situation. He moves forward on his own, feeling surprised as three figures watch him from behind. This person walks down a grand hallway, feeling as if he is being pulled by fate. Someone urgently calls out Russell's name with emphasis. The man stands alone in a grand hall, reaching out toward a massive dinosaur skeleton bathed in sunlight streaming through stained glass windows. This person notices the vibration intensifying from the ring in his hand, alert to the growing power it holds. The character urgently asks their mother if there is something she wants to tell them, focusing on a mysterious bracelet with a glowing yellow eye. The man closes his eyes slowly, showing signs of exhaustion and tension on his face. The man holds a woman's hand as they stand beneath a massive dinosaur skeleton, their shadows stretching across the tiled floor in the dimly lit museum hall. He laughs joyfully while holding onto someone's hand, clearly amused and carefree in the moment. The man turns sharply, startled by a sudden touch from someone standing behind him. He holds a woman's hand tightly while pointing forward, his expression a mix of surprise and urgency inside a grand hall. Russell cautiously approaches a dimly lit corridor, his tense posture reflecting uncertainty as he peers into the shadowy passage. He suddenly notices something alarming, his eyes wide with shock and tension. This person cautiously approaches a display case containing a mysterious object, his expression tense and alert. The scene shows a glowing box containing the ancient dragon's heart, with the text "This is," emphasizing its significance. He looks at a glowing ring in his hand, surrounded by a mysterious aura. The guy examines a glowing ring resembling a dragon's eye, standing before an ornate chest surrounded by mystical symbols. One character silently removes a ring from another's finger while a voice asks why they are crying. A hand places a glowing ring on another's finger, as a voice asks why they have been brought here. This person notices the ring on his finger has stopped vibrating, his expression tense and surprised. The scene shows a mysterious artifact displayed in an ornate glass case on a wooden cabinet, with a quiet atmosphere emphasized by the surrounding details. A large dinosaur skeleton stands prominently in a well-lit room with tall windows and elegant decor. This person stands silently, gripping a ring on his finger, surrounded by a tense and dark atmosphere. The man admits to imagining things now, laughing nervously with a tense expression. He thinks to himself, "I'm such a..." with a tense and troubled expression. Russell's hand crackles with intense red energy, surprising him as the power surges uncontrollably. The man looks up in awe as a colossal dragon with glowing eyes and fiery breath awakens, while a mysterious voice grants him another chance to become the cornerstone of a new mythology. The scene shows glowing text stating that the wheels turning the world had cracked, with no characters visible. The scene shows glowing text "was beginning" against a dark background with blue digital-like vertical bars and small sparkling stars. A glowing message appears, stating that the Dragon King's eye is checking the world's information. A glowing message announces the activation of the guy's status window and mission. A bright blue light suddenly appears in the darkness, accompanied by a sharp sound effect, signaling an important or magical event. Someone shouts, "Raymond!" loudly with urgency and intensity. Seijiro clears his throat to get attention, while two others at the table turn to look, and someone internally recognizes the voice. wondering whose it is. The guy is struck on the head with a book, reacting in shock and pain. Seijiro sternly questions Russell, who responds nervously with a startled yes, while leaning on the desk in a grand, sunlit room. The man sarcastically acknowledges the students' good grades but criticizes them for sleeping in his class, expressing surprise at their audacity. Russell nervously stammers in confusion while facing Seijiro, who stands calmly with his back turned. A character nervously exclaims, "Professor Hubert?" upon seeing a man with a monocle smiling ominously against a dark red background. The man reacts with shock and disbelief, thinking about someone who has passed away. The guy looks back with concern, wondering aloud what is wrong with someone. This person's eyes widen sharply, filled with tension and surprise. The guy smirks confidently while sitting at a table, as another person nearby quietly chuckles to themselves. He wonders aloud what is happening, his voice filled with confusion and urgency. The man suddenly reacts with surprise, slamming his hand on the table. He is shocked as someone grabs his face, his eyes wide with surprise and exclamation marks emphasizing the sudden action. A character hesitates nervously, beginning to speak with a trembling eye, while sweat drips down their face. The guy, surprised and confused, wonders if he's back in the past while surrounded by other students and a teacher in a classroom. Sunlight filters through the leaves, casting shadows on the stone wall and tall, arched windows of the building. This person stands and talks with an older man in a classroom filled with seated students, bathed in warm sunlight streaming through tall, arched windows. He realizes with shock that he has come back to the past, his eyes wide with disbelief. Russell looks back with a worried expression while the man remains silent, creating a tense atmosphere in the grand, sunlit room. He touches his forehead with 2 fingers, concentrating deeply as he prepares to punish. He reacts with shock and urgency as he steps forward, his eyes wide and body tense. The guy contemplates the nature of time travel magic while facing a cloaked figure in a glowing, ornate hallway. A colossal dragon declares it will grant another chance to become a cornerstone of a new mythology, emphasizing the importance of not being inadequate. He looks surprised and thinks to himself that they definitely. This person realizes his ring is gone and recalls someone saying it's another chance. The guy wonders if his mother helped as he stands near the door while another man opens it behind him. The guy calls out Russell's name with a serious expression in a grand, sunlit hallway. He apologizes for falling asleep during class after being reminded it isn't like him. Seijiro tells Russell they need a one-on-one conversation during lunch, and he responds with understanding. Seijiro says he will be waiting while Russell bows deeply in the background on a sunlit street. The man wonders how long it has been since he got in trouble and admits he still likes it. This person watches silently as the man walks away down the grand hallway, his hands clasped behind his back. Someone shouts, "Hey!" loudly, capturing immediate attention. The man is struck forcefully from behind, then angrily demands to know what kind of attack that was. Anton mocks Russell with a taunting question while 2 others smirk behind them, creating a tense and confrontational atmosphere. Anton angrily warns someone that they are too relaxed, raising his hand as if to strike. A hand forcefully grabs another person's wrist, emphasizing tension and struggle in the scene. Anton warns Russell that the professors are watching while holding his wrist with a confident smile. This person scolds the guy for not taking notes because he was busy sleeping, causing the younger one to respond with surprise. Anton warns with urgency that if someone doesn't want to die, they should follow him to the bathroom. Anton and Seijiro walk together down a grand hallway while a third person watches them from behind, their presence emphasized by a close-up of a shoe. The man recalls how such events happened, smiling softly to himself in a quiet, reflective moment. This person looks surprised as he hears a sudden ringing sound nearby. The guy reacts with surprise as a mission appears before him, instructing him to teach 3 classmates a lesson about bullying. This person questions if what he sees is an illusion while reaching out his hand toward a glowing surface. The guy touches a glowing magical panel with surprise, questioning if it isn't what he expected. The man urgently calls out, asking why the other person isn't coming. Anton warns that there is no use in running because they are in the academy. Anton smirks confidently and challenges the other to try if they are scared. He, with a serious expression, quietly agrees by saying, "Okay." As tension fills the room, Anton grins confidently while Russell stands in the background, and the other man declares he is teaching them a lesson, telling them to forget the mission first. This person conjures a fiery orb while 2 allies charge at a massive flaming creature under a blood-red moon. A monstrous figure with glowing eyes and a skeletal mask emits a deadly aura, while the narrator recalls the overwhelming killing intent felt from the monster's back. 3 young men stand confidently together, one holding a cup, while a voice comments that they are on a cute level. He smirks confidently and taunts his opponent, calling him a larva bastard as he holds a smoking pipe. He confirms he killed the bedbug, speaking with a slight smile. Anton says the man has finally gone mad as he and two others watch Russell approach from across the room. Anton looks intently at Russell, who meets his gaze with a tense expression in the dimly lit room. The guy angrily throws a punch while threatening to beat someone up, then quickly lunges forward with determination. Russell leans in close with a menacing expression, while Anton looks up at him, eyes wide with fear. Russell strikes a man in white, causing a powerful impact that sends him reeling backward in shock and pain. He reacts with surprise as a boot forcefully kicks toward him inside a room with large windows. Anton angrily shouts, "You trash!" before delivering a powerful punch to an unseen opponent's face. Anton watches calmly as someone crashes violently to the ground nearby, the impact sending debris flying. The man smirks and says, "Ha, seriously," while looking down at someone hiding under a bench. Anton mocks Russell for learning cheap martial arts, since he can't use magic. Tossing a smoking pipe in a tense bathroom confrontation, he coldly remarks that it is expected from a fallen family. Anton warns that magic cannot be used inside the academy building while activating glowing green rings on his fingers. This man smirks confidently, revealing that they can use small artifacts. He angrily attacks while shouting a threat, targeting the person with black hair. Anton punches Russell with a glowing fist, while the latter stands still, seemingly unfazed by the attack. One character grabs another's wrist tightly as a green glow emanates from the contact, signaling a sudden and intense action. Anton reaches out hesitantly toward Russell, who calmly holds his hand, while the former seems confused and unsure about the situation. Someone calls out, "Frederick," while gripping his wrist tightly against a dark, intense background. The guy screams in pain, his face contorted with agony against a dark, electrified background. Anton struggles on his knees as another person firmly grabs his wrists, preventing him from escaping. The scene shows a broken smoking pipe on the ground, with a voice criticizing someone's ranking and behavior towards opponents. Russell angrily reacts to an insult, demanding who dares to mention his family. The man stammers nervously, sweat dripping down his face as he looks up in fear. Anton grabs Russell's wrist urgently, pleading for him to wait as tension fills the air. Anton urgently demands to be heard, his intense amber eyes wide with desperation. The scene shows a dramatic sound effect with blood splatters, indicating a sudden, intense action or impact. Seijiro reflects that this question is more fundamental and closer to the truth than the previous ones. The man contemplates quietly in a dimly lit library, questioning which of the four magical structures is the most important. The man remains silent, his expression tense as he looks ahead in the dim light. Seijiro realizes he is asking a recently discovered question to a student, showing a moment of self-awareness. Someone slams their hand on the table, interrupting and saying they will ask a different question. This man begins to reveal the answer with a serious expression. He faces him in a sunlit room, tension evident as the older man leans on the table, speaking with a serious expression. The guy is shocked and speechless, realizing someone knows the answer. Seijiro leans on the desk, speaking seriously to Russell, who listens intently while standing across the room in a dimly lit study. The guy speaks about the mental image, with a serious expression in a room filled with bookshelves. He clenches his fist on the table, speechless. Seijiro adjusts his monocle with a tense expression and asks why the other person thinks that. The man's intense red eye narrows in focus, reflecting a moment of tension and determination. He concentrates intensely, explaining that magic is manifesting something into the real world using mana as a glowing magical circle appears below him. The scene illustrates the world's categorization of magical progress into four levels: assimilation, mental image, construction, and manifestation, depicted with glowing symbols and a floating book. A radiant light envelops the character's face as their eyes remain closed, emanating a powerful and serene energy. This man meditates deeply, focusing intently as he conjures a bright flame in his hand, embodying the courage to break mental limits and reach imaginative freedom. The man closes his eyes tightly as flames blaze intensely before him, his expression filled with determination and inner struggle. This man stands before a fiery vision, contemplating that without limits on his mental visualization, it will become something entirely different. A fiery explosion erupts as a character declares they can even create something, summoning a small flaming creature from the blaze. Seijiro confirms something with a calm tone, saying, "That's right," while his back is turned to the viewer. A hand conjures a bright flame, illuminating a dimly lit room filled with bookshelves. A clenched fist ignites with fiery energy as the narration explains that understanding the world begins with mastering hot ice. The man clenches his fist with determination, bathed in warm light inside an ornate room filled with books and a glowing lantern. The scene shows a glowing magical light with the text explaining, "That is what magic is," emphasizing the essence of magic itself. The guy's intense gaze sharpens as sparks fly around him, his expression filled with determination and tension. A character thinks or says, "This child is," amid a glowing, sparkling background. Seijiro confirms his suspicion to Russell, who listens intently in a dimly lit room with crossed swords on the wall. He smiles confidently and tells someone that the student library is too small of a world for them. A notification appears, informing that the mission is accomplished and granting permission to enter the professor library's first floor, along with 2 low-grade mana stones. The man walks purposefully through a grand library aisle, his expression focused as light filters through the high arched ceiling above. He notes that the first floor alone is still very expansive while walking through the room. The character observes the grand library interior, noting aloud that it is very different from the student library. A glowing book titled Intensive Magic Botany lies on a table, surrounded by 2 other ornate books. He examines a book in a library, thinking to himself that it's practical. The man notes that it also doesn't leave out the basic theories of magic. Daria approaches Russell, who sits alone in the library, unaware of her presence behind him. Someone utters, "Oh," with a tone of surprise or realization. The man is reading an intriguing book when someone comments on his choice. The man's eyes widen in shock as he suddenly notices something alarming. The guy suddenly falls back in his chair, startled and tense. He turns in surprise as someone off-panel instructs him to follow, his expression tense and confused. Daria confidently approaches with a sly smile, prompting someone to exclaim in shock, This person is—" She smiles confidently as someone calls out her name with emphasis. The guy introduces himself to the woman in the hat, addressing her as Flame Tower Master. The man's tense eyes narrow with sweat as he faces an unseen threat, his expression filled with anxiety and determination. The girl stands confidently before the towering flame tower, known for her immense mana and youthful appearance despite her age. Daria notices someone's presence and reassures them there is no need to be nervous, while internally questioning why she is there. The guy looks surprised as a gloved hand offers him a large lollipop, while the speaker claims to be just a companion walking the same path. Russell looks surprised and asks if the candy is for him, while Daria offers it with a confident smile. Daria questions Russell about how he gained access to the professor library, while he nervously sucks on a lollipop. Russell nervously explains that Professor Hubert allowed him to do something while holding a large red and white lollipop. Daria smirks confidently and questions if the uptight man was responsible, her tone teasing as she says, "That uptight man did?" The man thinks the other is uptight, while the man with a monocle scratches his ear distractedly at the desk. Anton smirks and remarks that it makes sense because the other was learning something quite interesting. The man examines the pure mana with surprise, noting the stable distribution, while another observes the rarity of such a phenomenon with intense focus. The man wonders silently if she noticed something as he looks away in a dimly lit room. Daria reassures Russell with, "Don't worry," as they stand back in a library filled with books. Daria tells Russell she is not here to lecture him, smiling gently as he listens attentively in the library. The guy nervously thanks someone, bowing his head slightly with a sweat drop on his face. A sword strikes the ground with force as someone says, "Well then," signaling the start of an intense moment. His eyes widen intensely as he focuses on something unseen, sparks flickering around him. The man stands in a glowing library, holding a magical object as a voice urges him to grow to the best of his abilities, his expression tense and focused. The man looks ahead with a mix of awe and determination as glowing embers swirl around him. The man stands before grand doors, expressing surprise that he didn't expect to meet someone here. Russell hears someone recognize him with surprise, thinking of an unexpected gain. Anton watches Russell leave the professor library while questioning his audacity and identity. Anton mocks someone for flattering a professor, claiming he won't amount to anything, while his companion chuckles beside him. Anton smirks confidently and tells someone to try their best. Anton smirks and says it won't do any good, while Russell listens with a calm expression. The guy and others watch intently from above as a lone figure stands in the center of an empty arena under a bright sky. A man announces that the first named student must come down to the stadium ground and choose their opponent. The narration explains that professors tend to choose the weakest student so they can select someone of their own level. This man sits alone on the steps with arms crossed, recalling that in his past life he was always the first one called. Anton suggests it will be Russell again, noting his mana vein narrowing, while the other listens quietly. Russell listens silently as two voices plead for his choice, one begging to raise grades and the other demanding to be picked instead. A man announces he will now pick a student in an empty arena with spectators watching from the stands. Anton laughs quietly while asking if the other is Russell, who smiles back at him. Someone calls out Anton Frederick's name loudly, and both he and another young man react with surprise. Someone calls out Anton's name and questions why he is first while two people walk down the stairs. Seijiro reads a document intently while Anton walks past him with a confident smirk, their backs almost touching in a contrasting moment of focus and arrogance. Anton thanks the professor, who responds by downplaying the favor compared to those from the Frederick Merchant Association. The man's eyes widen with realization as he thinks, "I knew it." A person steps firmly on the ground, creating a sharp sound. The man smirks confidently and commands someone to come down, questioning why they are just sitting there. The boy stands with crossed arms, surprised as someone calls out his name loudly. Seijiro quietly expresses that it would have been nice to be informed beforehand if someone was coming while stirring his tea. Daria Snow White stands confidently by the window, arms crossed, bathed in warm sunlight, her expression radiating self-assurance and poise. A woman calmly says, "It's fine," while standing in high heels on a softly lit floor. Daria Snow White calmly states that it's not a big deal for a teacher to visit her student while sitting in a warmly lit room. Someone questions if a child named Russell was given a Professor Use library entry pass while reaching for a cup of tea. Seijiro asks with concern if the child made a mistake, his expression tense and worried. Daria smiles confidently while holding a cup, remarking that she hasn't seen something so rare and precious in a while. Seijiro confirms that Russell's mana vein narrowing is a rare illness even on the continent, speaking with a serious expression while sitting and clasping his hands. Seijiro reacts with surprise, asking, "What?" in response to something unexpected. Seijiro comments that the child overcame his problem, while the other person questions what he means. A person carefully places a teacup on a saucer, the warm light highlighting their hands and the red and white fabric beneath. Daria confidently informs Russell that he has already made his second circle, while he responds hesitantly. Two figures stand apart on a large arena floor, marked with astrological symbols, surrounded by empty stands and rows of seated spectators. The man notices a notification about winning a mission during magic training, revealing clear rewards including magic stones and an unlocked compartment. A notification appears, announcing a mission to win during magic training with rewards including 2 lowest-grade magic stones and a 40-kilogram compartment unlocked. The man thinks about the compartment magic, noting its exclusivity to the wealthiest mages and its usefulness for storing magic stones. The man smirks confidently and asks if the other's body is frozen, implying they must act to survive. This man is shown with a tense expression as a dark speech bubble commands him to beg. This man smirks and sarcastically asks if someone is begging. He, surrounded by flames, looks shocked and asks in disbelief if he is the one being referred to. This man notices the magic emanating from the boy near the burning entrance, questioning its origin with surprise. A voice declares the start of the match as the bright sun shines over a grand building's balcony. This man clenches a glowing orb in his hand, preparing to unleash its power with determination. The boy is shocked, questioning if someone with mana vein narrowing could have a second circle, refusing to believe it. The man unleashes a powerful flamethrow spell, sending a massive burst of fire forward in an intense magical attack. This man watches in shock as a fiery explosion erupts nearby, illuminating the scene with intense light and heat. A clenched fist is thrust forward with force, surrounded by dynamic motion lines and a vibrant purple and red background. Russell narrowly blocks a massive fiery attack with a glowing shield, his eyes wide with determination and urgency. Seijiro explains with enthusiasm how someone made the shield thin and used its inclined side to protect against the heat wave. The boy warns to behave well from now on, his expression serious as he raises a hand against the wall. He warns with a serious expression, that is, if you don't want to die, while 3 unconscious or injured men lie on the ground behind him. A person is shown walking briskly on a tiled floor near a carpeted area. He sits slumped against a wall, looking exhausted and disheveled in the warm light. The boy questions himself silently, wondering if he went overboard. He says that his eyes are tired, showing visible fatigue and weariness. This person sits against the wall, surprised as a glowing blue holographic screen appears before him. A glowing blue frame appears with the text, "Lowest grade magic stone, consumable," displayed prominently in the center. This person sits confused, tossing a small object in the air as question marks float around him. A glowing red crystal suddenly appears embedded in the palm of the outstretched hand, sparkling with magical energy. A glowing blue sign displays the word "consumable," surrounded by floating digital particles against a white background. This person exclaims in shock, questioning if he is really expected to eat what he is holding. He sits on the floor, holding a small object and wondering if he is supposed to eat it. He, holding a small rock, thinks to himself that even barbarians didn't eat rocks, while imagining a confused caveman offering a rock with a smile. This person hesitates silently, contemplating his next move as a holographic interface with the word "use" appears before him. A person is about to put a glowing red gem into their mouth under a starry sky. A notification appears, informing that the lowest grade mana stone has been consumed. The man contemplates the profound taste, thinking this moment resembles a time regression and could be another opportunity. The guy turns his head sharply, eyes narrowed with tension as smoke swirls around him. Russell is engulfed in a sudden fiery explosion, his eyes wide with shock as he exclaims, "What?" A notification appears, informing that the mana within the mana stone has been obtained. The man is engulfed in fiery energy, clutching his chest in pain as flames burst around him intensely. This person notices his mana is flowing out, his expression tense and focused. A notification appears, informing that the mana in the circle is increasing. The heart is engulfed by a fiery circle, emphasizing its absorption with intense flames surrounding it. The guy clutches his chest as fiery energy swirls around him, his expression tense and focused. The guy breathes a sigh of relief as he feels the power stabilizing around the pendant he holds close to his chest. This person confidently explains a method, his hands gesturing as he speaks with a determined expression. The man confidently declares that he can definitely overcome mana vein narrowing, his expression filled with determination. The man reflects on his family's fall, expulsion from the academy, and his current status as a third-rate mercenary mage while standing solemnly in a grand, empty hall. He walks determinedly down a grand hallway, his clenched fist glowing with sparkling energy. He cautiously enters the room and says, "Excuse me," while someone inside invites him to come in. Seijiro orders Russell to sit while calmly holding a cup in a quiet, sunlit room filled with books and plants. Seijiro calls Russell's name as the latter sits tensely on the couch in a quiet room. He looks ahead with a tense expression, seemingly processing important information in a quiet room filled with bookshelves. Seijiro asks Russell if he is going through something difficult while they sit across from each other at a table with tea and snacks. Seijiro calmly drinks tea and mentions hearing a rumor about bullying, while the other recalls how the professor never gave up on him in his previous life. The man smiles confidently and says he has always wanted to say this. This person reassures someone with a confident smile, telling them there is no need to worry. Seijiro reacts with surprise and gratitude, saying, "Thank you," while focusing intently on something off-screen. Seijiro clears his throat, stating he must take care of his students as a professor, while Russell laughs brightly in response. Seijiro tells Russell he must be punished for dozing off in class while sitting across from him at the table. He warns that the task won't be easy and instructs to write an analytical report on pages 62 to 74 of Intensive Elemental Studies. The guy explains the difficulty of the section while activating a glowing notification about completing Professor Hubert's assignment and its rewards. The man reads a notification with surprise, questioning if even assignments are considered missions. Seijiro smiles coldly and asks if the assignment is too difficult. The book lies closed on the surface as a voice firmly says, "No." He smiles warmly and says, "Thank you." He stretches and groans in frustration while sitting at a desk cluttered with books in a warmly lit room. The man thinks to himself that the assignment isn't difficult while sitting at a desk covered with papers and books. The character reflects on his past, explaining that despite weak mana abilities, he worked hard studying theory and continued learning even while working as a mercenary. The man stands by the window, bathed in warm sunlight, reflecting silently as the narration states, "But in this life," he reflects quietly by the window, thinking that there is something else as important as studying. A character forcefully stomps the ground while a narration explains that the mana vein is the path that circulates mana. The guy struggles to climb a steep wall while a dark creature with glowing red eyes pursues him rapidly from below. This person speaks quietly under the clear sky, his expression tense and determined. He fiercely blocks a powerful attack from a monstrous creature with glowing red eyes, his expression tense and determined. The man braces himself as a massive scorpion-like creature with glowing red eyes lunges toward him with a powerful strike. He looks back with a tense expression, his body slightly turned as if reacting to a sudden threat or sound. The man unleashes Circle Magic Y. Fire, causing a powerful explosion while explaining that reversal magic is released because of this. An enormous explosion erupts as two figures brace themselves against the fiery blast, debris flying wildly around them. The guy faces a monstrous figure with glowing red eyes emerging from an explosion, bracing himself for an imminent attack. He urgently shouts, "Shield!" while raising his arms defensively amid a chaotic, smoky scene. He reacts with shock as a sudden force hits him, his eye wide open in surprise. A large, menacing creature with glowing red eyes lunges forward aggressively, creating a powerful impact with a burst of energy. A powerful explosion erupts, sending debris flying against a rocky landscape under a clear blue sky. A giant scorpion-like creature strikes the ground, causing a large stone pillar to crack and dust to rise in front of a domed building. The guy crashes through a stone wall, dust and debris flying around him as he lands forcefully. The ground cracks loudly as something heavy impacts it with force. He reacts with shock and confusion, exclaiming, "Huh?" as he looks upward with wide, intense eyes. This man falls through a collapsing ceiling, shouting as debris rains down around him, while he wonders if the skies sympathize. The guy lies on the ground, struggling to move beneath towering pillars in a dark, cavernous space. This man struggles to rise, breathing heavily and showing signs of exhaustion and injury. The guy looks ahead with a determined expression, his face marked by scratches and illuminated by a mysterious purple light. This man approaches the glowing altar where two grimoires lie hidden, shielding his eyes from the intense light. A glowing hand swiftly reaches forward, emitting a bright light as energy radiates around it. This man unleashes a powerful magical attack called Overvein and Wizard Body, emitting a bright, intense light from his outstretched hand. A person is running quickly on a paved path near a building with trees in the background. The guy runs determinedly through the courtyard at sunset, focusing on training his physical body and broadening his mana vein. The guy struggles on the ground, thinking about how the wizard body substitutes muscle tissue for part of the mana vein. This man hangs upside down from a tree branch near a clock tower, as a narration explains the connection between body strength and mana vein firmness. Russell struggles to contain a powerful glowing energy erupting from his chest, his expression tense and strained amid swirling light and shadows. He clenches his teeth with determination, vowing to overcome the mana vein narrowing this time. The scene shows a peaceful sunset over a clock tower and surrounding buildings, with trees bathed in warm golden light and no characters present. Russell leans against a tree, exhausted and gasping, admitting he can't do anymore. He, sweating and exhausted, declares that today's exercise should be complete, expressing relief after intense effort. A notification appears, assigning a mission to practice the ancient magic Overvein by running 5 kilometers, with progress and rewards detailed. The guy reacts with surprise and concern upon seeing a sudden notification about an ancient magic practice mission. A special notification appears, informing that the Overvein mission can be repeated once a day during practice. A notification appears, informing that the distance required to run will change based on the level of Overvein. A notification appears, stating that after reaching a certain level of Overvein, this mission will no longer appear. He anxiously wonders aloud about the sudden rush as glowing blue symbols appear in front of him. The guy nervously agrees to run, his expression tense but resigned. He, sweating and tense, decides he can't just sit still as a bright explosion lights up the background. The guy is running intensely, sweating and breathing heavily with distance markers showing his progress. He is shown exhausted and panting heavily while leaning forward in front of a large building during sunset. This man, panting and sweating, says he is almost done while looking at a glowing holographic screen against a fiery sky. Russell struggles to push himself further, sweat dripping down his hands and legs as he thinks, "A little bit more." The man yells in pain as he is struck and thrown backward. A glowing notification appears in the night sky, announcing the completion of a mission and the provision of rewards. He lies on the ground, sweating and exhausted, thinking he can't take another step. He lies on the grass, sweating and worried, reading a notification about completing a mission, while a shadowy figure stands near the building entrance. He smirks slyly while peeking from behind a wall in the dimly lit courtyard. The character marvels at how he reached such a deep conclusion using only academy-level study materials. Seijiro questions Russell, asking if he is sure he prepared the report, while Russell stands silently with his hands behind his back in a room filled with books. He confidently agrees and promises to take a mana oath to guarantee it. Seijiro contemplates a mana oath, noting that he looks a bit too confident. He smiles slightly and thinks about the frankness of someone's words. He expresses satisfaction with the report as he reviews documents at his desk. A notification appears, informing the completion of the mission and the reward of mana stones and improved summoning skills, while a character wonders if their understanding has increased. The guy thinks quickly and says, "In that case." As he processes the situation with a focused expression, Russell anxiously responds to the professor's command to leave, calling out to him in surprise. Seijiro hesitates and starts to speak, his expression showing confusion as he stands in a sunlit room near a window with plants. He speaks with a tense tone, his mouth slightly open as if revealing something important. The character asks why the other wants to use the faculty library, while sunlight streams through the window onto stacks of books and plants. Seijiro assures that the student library should have enough books to suit the other's needs. Seijiro confidently tells Russell that he has read all of those books while sitting behind a desk in a sunlit room. He asks in surprise, "All of them?" while his hand trembles slightly above the surface. Russell stands before a desk while Seijiro leans back in shock, exclaiming that the news is shocking. Seijiro says he must see if the other is qualified, and the young man responds that it is completely understandable. The mission to complete Professor Hubert's assignment is displayed twice against a light background with floating leaves. The man reflects on receiving numerous assignments from Professor Hubert, noting his pickiness with a wry smile while standing under a sunlit tree. This man reflects nervously, explaining that a better understanding of theory makes magic stronger. He urgently thinks about needing advanced knowledge from the faculty library at all costs, his expression tense and determined. Someone removes a cork from a bottle while thinking that it may be a bit of a hassle. The man drinks water under the bright sun, thinking about getting a mana stone as a reward for the mission, calling it 2 birds with 1 stone. Someone calls out his name urgently as he stands on a cobblestone path with a shadowy figure nearby. The man accuses someone of causing his friend to suffer, speaking confidently with a smirk while 2 men stand behind him. Russell asks the group if they are here for revenge, standing tensely while the others listen silently on the cobblestone path near the bushes. He laughs confidently and questions if he is the one seeking revenge, while Seijiro Amai smirks quietly behind him. The voice commands to stop deluding oneself, conveying a harsh warning or confrontation. Anton mocks someone, questioning who would seek revenge on a worthless person like them with a sinister smile. The man coldly states that trampling the other person works just fine. Russell warns Anton with tension in his voice, while the latter smirks confidently and says he will see him in class. This man questions why the other man isn't attacking, and the man replies that there's no audience, implying hesitation. The guy stands quietly outside, his gaze fixed ahead as he softly utters, "Class." Amidst a gentle breeze, the scene shows an intense explosion during practical magic combat studies, with magical energy bursting against a grand building. The man unleashes a powerful fiery kick, surrounded by intense flames and sparks, while a narration explains the class grading students by their sparring matches. The man looks tense and determined, illuminated by glowing embers around him. The character reflects bitterly on the class where he was always humiliated. The man stands over this guy, who is on the ground, with a menacing smile as tension fills the air between them. The character thinks to himself that he will have to be prepared for it. The guy looks intensely downward, his eyes wide with shock or realization as leaves float gently around him. A glowing notification appears, instructing to achieve the second circle by increasing understanding of currently possessed attributes. He urgently signs multiple documents while another version of him shouts in distress, surrounded by flying papers. The guy hands over a huge stack of documents to Seijiro Amai, while multiple notifications announce the mission's completion and upcoming reward. This man stands alone in a dimly lit room, thoughtfully observing the papers and diagrams pinned on the wall near a large window at sunset. The guy observes the glowing red mana stone on the table as the announcement declares it ready. A hand reaches towards scattered red shards as the word "but" appears, indicating hesitation or a turning point in the scene. This man wonders anxiously if his mana load will be able to handle the mana stone as he reaches out with a tense expression. The guy looks intensely at something off-screen, his expression filled with tension and a bead of sweat on his face. He closes his eyes tightly, a bead of sweat running down his face, showing his tension and inner struggle. He resolves to trust the training he has undergone for so long. Russell clenches his teeth fiercely as sharp fragments scatter around him, showing intense determination or anger. This man stands alone facing a wall covered with papers, deep in thought. Russell's eyes suddenly ignite with fiery intensity, signaling a surge of power or determination. Russell struggles amid intense flames, feeling his body burn as he urgently thinks about making a path quickly to escape the fiery attack. This man concentrates intensely, molding the flow of mana as flames swirl around him. The guy struggles to complete a magical circle with flames surrounding him, determined despite the risk to his heart, as he resolves to succeed no matter what. This man concentrates intensely, channeling fiery energy into his hands, determined to claim something no matter the cost, as a powerful blast erupts from him toward a building. The man looks upward with a relieved expression, quietly thinking to himself that he succeeded. He channels a fiery magical energy through his chest, struggling to control the intense power surging within him. This man focuses intensely, whispering, "Second circle," as flames flicker around him. This man lies on the floor, surrounded by flames and smoke, seemingly unconscious or exhausted in a dimly lit room with a large desk. A notification appears, informing that the mission is completed and the reward will now be received. Multiple notifications appear, informing that the understanding and power of fire, water, electricity, and earth magic attributes have risen greatly. Someone expresses amazement and disbelief at the completion of all the tasks, while sunlight streams through an open window. The man, sitting with fingers interlaced, announces that he is about to ask the last question. The man wonders if this man has been hiding his skills, his expression tense and filled with doubt. Anton struggles to control his firepower, expressing frustration and disbelief that he is enduring the intense energy. The guy urgently shouts, "Now!" with intense focus in his eyes. The guy summons a blazing fire arrow with intense focus, preparing to unleash its power. The man launches a blazing fire arrow while reacting with surprise to the attack. Anton clenches his fist tightly, and someone questions if he actually achieved a second circle. A blazing fireball shoots across the courtyard, leaving a trail of flames and sparks under a bright blue sky. Anton clenches his fist tightly in frustration, gritting his teeth as he mutters about an insect. He reacts with surprise, exclaiming, "Huh?" as his eyes widen in shock. He, surrounded by smoke and fire, is shocked, thinking it makes no sense that he already cast a second arrow. A fiery blast shoots across the scene, engulfing the area in flames and intense heat. A fiery explosion erupts near a building, sending flames and debris flying into the bright blue sky. The man with glasses exclaims in shock about a double casting, while the other man responds uncertainly. The man casts a fiery spell with intense focus, explaining that the casting speed is so fast it appears like double casting. Anton mocks Russell, questioning if making a fire arrow is all he is capable of. The character contemplates a solution, saying there is a way, as a glowing hexagonal barrier emits heat and light. Anton creates a fiery shield around himself, declaring it a shield specialized against fire while surrounded by flames. The man clenches his fiery fist with a determined smile, thinking he has been waiting for this moment. The guy confidently declares that if he fights back after waiting for his opponent's mana to run out, then it will be his victory. A hand glows with magical energy as the character utters "cancel" and preparing to cast a spell. Anton is caught off guard by a powerful attack, raising a red shield while shouting in shock. Anton is struck by a powerful wind magic attack, shocked that his opponent identified and adapted to his shield type. A man in green questions if the person is really Russell, while another man with glasses reacts with shock and disbelief. Russell cautiously approaches a mysterious glowing structure, his posture tense as he examines the intricate shapes before him. Anton groans in pain, trembling as he kneels on the ground inside a mysterious circle marked with symbols. His eyes widen in shock, and sweat drips down his face as he stares intensely at something off-screen. This man fiercely punches the guy, whose back is turned, in a sudden and intense confrontation. This man clenches his fist, eyes wide with intensity, as he begins to shout, "La lightning!" in a moment of urgent determination. The man is struck violently in the chest, grimacing in pain and shouting in agony. The guy concentrates as he summons fire magic with a glowing hand, his voice barely a whisper. The guy rushes forward with determination, his eyes focused intensely on the path ahead. This man, with glowing eyes, forcefully strikes at this man, whose hair is visible in the foreground, amidst a burst of energy and motion lines. Seijiro demands to stop the match immediately, shocked by the magic, while another questions how it could not be magic. Seijiro tells the other to take a closer look and examine what is covering Russell's body. Seijiro reacts with shock and confusion, his eyes wide behind his glasses as he processes unexpected news. The man, surprised and tense, realizes someone is using mana like a knight's aura, while surrounded by a glowing, fiery energy. Seijiro says he doesn't know how he got it, but he found a way. He delivers a powerful downward strike, his intense focus breaking through the explosive impact. The guy forcefully strikes the ground, creating a powerful explosion of energy and debris. The guy's eyes widen in shock and tension as he faces an intense and unexpected situation. A large, blurred symbol with dark red and black strokes dominates the white background, creating a sense of intense motion or impact. He forcefully strikes him, sending him crashing into a stone wall as dust and debris scatter around them. The guy and two other students react with shock and fear, their faces sweating and mouths open in alarm. The man, sweating and shocked, gasps in disbelief, asking how this could be possible. Seijiro notices something alarming and reacts with surprise, while the man in the background looks on nervously. This man laughs confidently and tells someone that they should announce the winner. Seijiro nervously agrees, stammering, "Ah, right," with his eyes closed behind his monocle. The guy clenches his fist tightly as the announcement of the winner is about to be made, tension filling the air. This man stands confidently under the bright sky as someone calls his name loudly. He approaches hurriedly while the figure in the dark cloak stands firmly in the foreground. Seijiro praises Russell for his work but warns him that the situation is not over yet. The guy questions the meaning, while he explains that according to the class rules, certain conditions apply. Seijiro insists that unless the victor surrenders, they must be allowed to call the next opponent, speaking with urgency beside a sweating companion. The guy points upward and declares that the next person is called forward. A notification appears, assigning the mission to win the magic duel with rewards including 2 lowest-grade mana stones and bonuses for consecutive wins. The man smirks confidently and commands, "Come here." He stands by the window holding a teacup, quietly noting the achievement of 14 consecutive wins. Someone remarks that he has great insight while a desk with papers, a rolled-up scroll, and a book holder is shown. Seijiro recalls seeing Russell once and noticing his mana potential while calmly holding a teacup in a decorated room. Seijiro's reflection appears in the steaming cup as he begins to speak with a calm, measured tone. The guy watches intently as this man unleashes a fiery attack, questioning how he grew so powerful so quickly. A notification appears, informing that the mission is completed, a compartment unlocked, and mana stones have been received as rewards. He looks surprised and confused as a glowing message appears beside him. The man reacts with surprise, realizing the rewards are inside the mysterious glowing compartment. A hand reaches into a swirling purple portal, emitting sparks and energy against a gray background. The character discovers an ancient, glowing map marked with a red X and questions if it is really a map. A notification appears, instructing to go to the marked location on the map to complete Mission 1, with a warning to try only after reaching the 3rd circle. The guy questions if he should try after reaching the 3rd circle, his expression tense as he looks at a glowing blue holographic interface. A glowing magical circle appears as the character reflects on countless failed attempts before regression, wondering if this time they will succeed in reaching that level. He looks confused and worried as he examines a map, wondering aloud where they are because he can't tell from it. The man climbs a ladder in the professor's library, thinking about using the information he finds there. He thinks he might be able to find a clue as something crashes forcefully to the ground. He reads aloud from a large book in a library mentioning Endymion Kingdom's outer territories with focused enthusiasm. Someone flips through a book and announces that the next topic is Empire's Seaside. The guy, sweating nervously, says the record must be in the Outer Sea Records section while looking around the library. This man exclaims in frustration that none of the places match up while surrounded by towering stacks of books in a grand library. The man thinks to himself that he has wasted too much time looking for the place on the map while walking thoughtfully through the hall. The man thinks to himself that he will focus on reaching the 3rd circle first, his expression determined and focused. This man stands silently as a crowd nervously tries to get his attention, recalling a previous encounter. The man reflects on having escaped resentment and bullying, his eyes showing a mix of relief and lingering pain. He exhales softly and admits to still being a loner. The guy turns sharply, his expression tense as he senses something behind him in the grand hallway. Seijiro asks Russell if he will come see him for a bit, placing a hand on his shoulder while Russell looks up at him with surprise. This man quietly responds with, "Ah," while looking to the side, his expression calm and slightly amused. This man responds confidently with, Yes, all right. His expression showing determination. The bright sky and lush trees set a peaceful scene as someone remarks that summer break is almost here. Someone pours tea into a cup and asks if the other person has any plans. The guy sits tensely as someone offers him a cup, and he responds quietly that it is not yet. Seijiro asks Russell if he will work with him on a research project, and Russell responds with surprise. Someone suggests that depending on the other's performance, they could have their name listed right after his as the author and asks for their opinion. A young man sits on a chair, intently examining a book while thinking, "This is," in a softly lit room. The man's eyes widen in shock as he suddenly notices something alarming. Seijiro asks Russell what he is thinking about, his expression serious as he sits in a room filled with books and shelves. He apologizes to the professor while nervously holding a detailed map or document. The man nervously smiles and mentions the summer, while sitting in a library filled with books behind him. Seijiro, confused, questions the sudden interruption as he recalls the earlier denial. Seijiro offers something to Russell, who responds confidently that he is going to go there. Seijiro reads a letter about a vacation, his expression turning serious and contemplative. The characters examine an old map and a detailed book page depicting Maldiva, questioning the location with curiosity. A carriage driven by a figure with silver-white hair moves along a sunlit forest path surrounded by lush greenery. A man looks out the window thoughtfully, his hand resting on the windowsill as sunlight filters through the curtains. The man closes his eyes with a calm smile, seemingly at peace in the quiet moment. The man sits by the window, summoning dark energy in his hand while thinking he should eat something because the distance is quite far. Anton puts a glowing red crystal into his mouth, thinking it will fill his stomach quite a bit. Seijiro wipes sweat from his forehead, remarking that although it is summer, the heat is unbearable. A carriage speeds down a forest path with flames trailing its wheels, and someone remarks on how strange the situation is. The man concentrates deeply as flames swirl around him inside the room, the sunlight filtering through the window behind him. He, surrounded by flames, silently vows to reach the third circle before arriving at Maldiva. The man sits thoughtfully at his desk, pondering quietly as sunlight streams into the room, and he murmurs to himself, "How strange." The man thoughtfully notes that someone is also going to Maldiva. A blue cocktail with a lemon slice rests on a table by the sunlit beach shore, sparkling under the warm light. Daria relaxes on a lounge chair by the beach, thinking to herself that she must be in Maldiva right now. A character with silver hair relaxes on a beach chair under an umbrella by the sparkling sea, reflecting on their beautiful hometown, Endymion Maldiva Sea. Daria relaxes on a lounge chair with a drink, wondering how long it has been since her last break. He calmly mentions protecting the empire, making magic research presentations, and developing his students while holding a blue cocktail with a lemon slice. Daria stands on the stage holding a cane, facing a large crowd of people dressed in uniforms who watch her silently in the dim light. A hand conjures a swirling ring of fiery energy, radiating intense heat and light in a darkened space. Daria explains that the three numbers hold special meaning to mages while conjuring fire with a confident smile. Anton and Russell react with shock and surprise to a sudden bright light or explosion nearby. The narration explains the symbolic meanings of the ninth, sixth, and third circle magic cards amidst a fiery, intense background. A hand places a blue cocktail on a table by the beach, while the thought, "being alone," appears above. Daria wonders silently if the child from the past is doing okay, as she lies back with a thoughtful expression. He sits at a desk in a library, intently reading a book with a focused expression. The carriage arrives at their destination, and someone announces, "We've arrived." As the horses trot along the cobblestone street, a man with white hair hesitantly tells someone they can get off now, while a voice questions why they aren't getting off. An older man with white hair and a mustache shouts, "Sir?" In shock, sweat dripping down his face against a dramatic blue background. A hand quickly grabs a piece of bread from a plate, emphasizing a sudden or urgent action. He quickly eats a sausage and holds a piece of bread in his other hand. The man sits at the table, catching his breath and reflecting that he used too much strength trying to calm down the crazed mana. He nervously drinks while recalling someone urgently begging a man to wake up. The man drinks from a wooden cup, thinking to himself that he has finally achieved it. A heavy wooden object slams forcefully onto the floor, creating a loud impact sound. The man excitedly announces the arrival of a third circle while flames blaze around him. A young man reflects on surpassing his previous limit within months as a glowing magical circle crackles with energy amidst fiery surroundings. A hand presses 2 coins on a wooden surface while the character thinks they can't be satisfied with just this. He resolves to push himself further, his determined gaze fixed ahead. The man nervously examines a map, thinking to himself that this is his first trip while trying to find the place marked on it. He hears an enthusiastic advertisement for a Pompeii volcano tour while standing outside near European-style buildings. A character explains to the group that Pompeii, once just a mountain, turned into a volcano because a special creature began residing there. The guy looks up thoughtfully and reflects that nature changed just by staying here. The scene reveals a fiery volcano erupting with a massive red dragon emerging, accompanied by a narration emphasizing the uniqueness of this creature in the world. Russell watches nervously as a small figure jumps and shouts, "Roar!" Naus. Component placement, thinking it would be good to move away from there alone. He announces he will start moving again while others watch him prepare to act. A man jumps down a cliff, exclaiming in surprise about the course. This man walks through shallow water, splashing as he moves forward with determination. The scene shows a powerful waterfall with a voiceover reflecting on the reason for returning and growth from the mission and its rewards. The man stands before a towering waterfall, holding a map and contemplating the possibilities suggested by the scene. This person reads a document outdoors and realizes it is related to a dragon. A young man studies a glowing, magical map with floating light figures against a bright blue sky. A glowing golden energy swirls and rises, radiating light and power in a mystical display. A glowing golden orb pulses with light, radiating warmth and energy in a vibrant, ethereal atmosphere. The man stands in the water holding a map as a glowing golden light streaks across the surface, catching his attention with surprise. A glowing light descends through rushing water as the character questions if this is what it meant by light guiding them. A golden arrow pierces through the air, splashing water as it flies past a lush green background. The guy discovers the location behind the waterfall and remarks on it with a confident smile. This person concentrates intensely as he channels a swirling energy ball above the water, preparing to unleash a powerful attack. He unleashes a powerful wind arrow attack, creating a swirling vortex of energy. The guy leaps powerfully through the water, creating a large splash as he propels himself forward with determination. The man, standing inside a glowing lava cave, remarks that it's no wonder people don't know about this hidden place. He recalls being told to wait until reaching the third circle to try, but notices no monsters or beasts around. A character steps cautiously on the ground, the sound emphasizing their careful movement in a dimly lit environment. This person looks up at the ancient pillars and questions aloud. A pillar? As he stands in the dimly lit, ruined hall, he touches a wall and asks how old it is, his hand wet and trembling slightly. The guy looks cautiously into the dark cave, his expression tense and alert as he senses something unseen nearby. A voice remarks it was wondering where the other went, realizing they were over there near the guarded ornate door. The man walks alone through the dark ancient hall, his steps echoing quietly in the silence. A character walks briskly on a dark surface, their footsteps echoing quietly. The scene shows intense vertical lines suggesting a dramatic or tense moment without any visible characters. This person stands tense in the shadows, his red eyes wide with alertness as an ominous presence looms behind him. He reflects on forgetting his mercenary days and admits to letting his guard down, sweat visible on his neck in the dark. The guy thinks about the eerie silence where no monsters, beasts, or sounds are present, his tense gaze focused and alert. The narration warns that someone has entered the territory of a strong predator, emphasizing danger and tension in the scene. Russell Raymond is startled by the sudden appearance of a Komodo lizard looming over him in the dark. A large creature with a gaping mouth lunges forward aggressively, surrounded by intense red and dark tones, emphasizing the attack's force. A powerful explosion shatters the ground, sending debris flying violently through the air. A powerful force shatters the ground with explosive impact, sending debris flying in all directions. Russell Raymond summons a fiery Komodo lizard as he prepares to confront the shadowy creature emerging from the smoke. He thinks intensely about a monster that can only be defeated by at least 2 teams of mercenaries. Russell Raymond kicks fiercely at a dark, fiery-eyed creature while thinking the only thing he can do right now is run. A hand crackles with blue electricity, radiating intense energy in a dark, electric atmosphere. Russell Raymond summons a powerful lightning arrow, electricity crackling fiercely around his hands as he prepares to strike. A monstrous creature with glowing red eyes roars fiercely, its jaws wide open as it charges forward with overwhelming force. Russell Raymond unleashes a powerful electric attack, his expression fierce and determined as energy crackles around his hands. Russell is struck by a powerful blue energy blast that crashes into a monstrous creature, causing a loud, piercing scream. He thinks to himself that he managed to stall for some time with that. Russell Raymond runs determinedly toward the stone gates, declaring his intention to go straight there. Two swords clash fiercely as a voice demands proving worthiness to enter using mana. Russell Raymond shouts in shock, demanding to know what is happening. A monstrous creature with glowing eyes roars fiercely, surrounded by dark smoke and crackling energy. Russell Raymond struggles to get through crossed swords blocking his path, his expression tense and frustrated. He stomps the ground with a fiery force, declaring that if he can't avoid it, he will face it head-on. Russell Raymond fiercely declares he will make his own path, while conjuring fiery magic with intense determination. He casts a powerful firebolt spell, surrounded by intense red flames and magical energy. A large red crystal emits intense energy waves, illuminating the dark surroundings with a powerful, ominous glow. Russell's eye widens in shock as he reacts to a sudden, intense event. A large reptilian creature with glowing eyes lunges forward at high speed, creating a trail of sparks and dust behind it. The character wonders aloud why it suddenly stopped, expressing confusion and seeking an explanation. Russell Raymond faces a giant shadowy creature with glowing eyes, summoning fire in his hand as smoke and flames swirl around them. He channels fiery energy from his hands, confronting a towering shadowy figure emerging through the smoke with intense determination. Russell Raymond unleashes a fiery attack on a large stone creature inside a dimly lit ancient ruin. He looks down in shock and confusion, starting to say, "What is?" as he notices something unexpected. Russell Raymond cautiously approaches a large ornate door, guarded by two armored statues while a massive stone crocodile lies in front of him. The dark swirling shadow declares that the person has proven themselves, emphasizing the statement with glowing white text. A bright, intense light bursts from the center of an ornate design, radiating powerful energy across the scene. Russell Raymond stands engulfed in a radiant, blinding light that intensifies around him, creating a powerful and overwhelming aura. This man clutches his head in pain, struggling with a severe headache. The guy suddenly reacts with wide eyes and a tense expression, clutching his head in shock or realization. This man touches the ice with surprise, questioning its presence while looking at it with wide eyes. He, confused and kneeling on the icy floor, wonders where he is as towering stone golems loom silently around him in the dimly lit hall. The character wonders if teleportation magic was used, realizing they were just in a cave. The guy looks surprised and tense as he turns sharply inside a grand, sunlit hall. The man stares in shock at a large, glowing red object suspended by chains above the stairs, exclaiming in disbelief. He looks shocked and tense as he faces a glowing red light emerging nearby. The mission notification appears, instructing to defeat all ice golems and clear the trial of fire, while a character questions the existence of ice golems. His eyes widen sharply as he reacts to a sudden, intense event happening off-screen. The character observes the crumbling golems and utters the word golems. With a tense tone, a large icy creature with a glowing red eye emerges amid a storm of snow and rain, radiating a chilling and powerful presence. The guy faces multiple stone golems and thinks in disbelief that he is supposed to defeat them all. A hand ignites with fiery energy, glowing intensely against a dark background. He angrily shouts that the situation is too harsh, while unleashing a fiery attack with his outstretched arm. A fiery explosion erupts violently, sending flames and debris bursting outward with intense force. A massive fiery explosion erupts, revealing a glowing skull shape amidst the intense flames and energy. He faces a fiery golem emerging from smoke as he explains that to kill it, the core inside must be crushed. The scene shows a smoky, fiery background with the word "but" emphasized in a dramatic burst. A large, glowing stone creature with red eyes suddenly appears, surrounded by mist and energy. The character reflects on their failure as they observe a crack forming in the ice. He clenches his teeth and wonders aloud how cold the ice is that it causes such a reaction. This man decides to use wind magic after fire fails, concentrating as the air swirls around his outstretched hand inside a grand room. The man reacts with shock and disbelief, exclaiming, "What?" as he processes unexpected news. He exclaims in shock that he can't cast the spell. The guy faces a giant stone golem with glowing red eyes emerging from the ground, bracing for an imminent attack. This man shouts, "Lightning!" as he extends his hand, unleashing a powerful energy attacks. A hand crackles with blue electricity as the character exclaims, "Shit!" in frustration or alarm. This man is thrown back by a powerful explosion of ice shards, struggling to withstand the impact. The guy lands forcefully on the ground, creating a shockwave as he braces himself in a tense, determined stance. This man recalls the earlier notification with intense focus, his eyes wide and filled with determination despite visible injuries. This man faces a large armored enemy while realizing he can only use fire magic during the trial of fire. A character steps forcefully on the icy ground, causing a sharp crack to appear beneath their boot. The man grimaces in pain, clutching the wall as he struggles to stay upright, blood streaming from his eyes. This man faces several large stone golems in a tense confrontation inside a dimly lit chamber. He comments on the terrible hobby while standing defiantly between two large stone figures. He wipes blood from his eyes, struggling to see clearly despite the pain and exhaustion. The man summons a fiery bolt in his hand, his intense red eyes glowing fiercely as he prepares to attack. He responds with a tense, "Yeah," his face marked by dirt and scratches, eyes glowing red with determination. He faces three towering stone creatures with glowing red eyes, surrounded by flames, and resolutely declares that he will do this. A fiery attack streaks through the night sky, striking a skeletal armored figure who reacts with a sharp cry. The man is thrown back by a massive explosion inside a building, shielding his face from the blast and debris. A large blue-armored creature with glowing red eyes emerges amid smoke and sparks inside a dimly lit room. An intense explosion erupts, engulfing the scene in flames and debris, with no characters visible. The guy summons a powerful energy blast, causing the ground to shatter violently around him. The guy, breathing heavily and surrounded by flames, clenches his fist while thinking there are now just two of them left. The character thinks to himself that at this rate, he will run out of mana before taking them all out. This man clenches his teeth in pain and determination, sweat and blood marking his face as he braces himself for what comes next. This man thinks urgently that he needs another way out of this. Russell dodges as two giant stone golems clash with a powerful explosion of energy between them. A figure strategizes to shatter solid ice sheets by focusing all power at a single point, while armored opponents brace for impact. This man, with intense red eyes, thinks deeply and says the answer is about to be revealed. The character thinks to himself that he must first get further away to cast the spell while running swiftly across the floor. He struggles to rise as two large ice golems loom ominously in the grand hall. A character conjures a fiery arrow between their hands, preparing to launch an attack. This man concentrates as he conjures a fiery spear, recalling the formula of amplification while standing in a grand, illuminated hall. A fierce burst of fiery flames erupts intensely, illuminating the dark surroundings with blazing heat and energy. The scene shows intense flames and burning embers engulfing the area, creating a fiery and chaotic atmosphere. The man, bloodied and intense, declares, and finally, with a determined glare, the guy concentrates as he summons fiery spears and swirling flames, thinking to merge all of this power together. The character shouts the phrase, "formula of compression," with intense emphasis. A character unleashes a powerful burst of fiery energy from their hands, illuminating the scene with intense flames. This man channels intense flames from his hands, his face contorted with effort and determination as fire erupts violently around him. Anton reacts with surprise to a sudden fiery attack, exclaiming, "All of a sudden?" as flames engulf the area near his feet. He desperately pleads for a merge as he faces a giant blue creature's attacking fist. A massive explosion erupts with intense light and fiery sparks radiating outward, filling the scene with overwhelming energy and destruction. A massive figure with icy blue legs stands firmly on the ground, emitting a cold aura as fragments of ice scatter around. Two stone golems stand silently in a grand hall, illuminated by soft sunlight filtering through tall windows. A massive stone golem shatters the ground with its heavy steps, debris and sparks flying around it in a bright, spacious hall. The guy breaks through a barrier with a fiery weapon in hand, surrounded by flying shards of ice and glass. The man stands firmly, holding a blazing fiery lance as shattered ice and debris float around him in a tense, charged atmosphere. A notification appears, informing that the understanding of fire elements has transcended beyond limits and increased significantly. The guy feels a powerful energy close to the fifth circle as he ignites a fiery weapon, his expression intense and focused. He clenches a flaming spear tightly, thinking that just maintaining it consumes a huge amount of energy. He charges forward with a flaming weapon, shouting that he is going first. The man charges at two giant stone golems, flames trailing behind him as they prepare to strike. His intense amber eye glows fiercely as he braces for impact. blood and dirt marking his determined face. The guy is engulfed in swirling flames as he falls downward, surrounded by fiery explosions hitting mechanical enemies above him. He attacks a group of stone golems with a fiery weapon, breaking the ice around them as they advance menacingly. The guy, injured and determined, counts down the remaining enemies, declaring, "4 left," as he prepares to continue the fight. An intense explosion erupts, filling the scene with bright orange light and dynamic motion lines. A powerful slash cuts through the air, shattering the ground and sending debris flying in a fierce explosion of energy. The guy attacks 2 giant robots with a fiery weapon, shouting, "Now too!" as he fights fiercely in front of a large building. This person strikes forcefully with a glowing weapon, his expression tense as he channels energy into the attack. This person confronts a giant stone golem, summoning a fiery attack that causes a powerful explosion on the ground. This person clenches his teeth with determination, thinking about taking down his opponent as he exerts a powerful effort. A powerful fiery beam strikes the armored figure, causing sparks and debris to scatter violently around it. The scene shows a large, blurred sound effect in dark red and black, emphasizing a sudden, impactful noise or action. He, exhausted and breathing heavily, prepares for one final action as flames ignite around his arms in a grand, empty hall. This person blocks a powerful attack with his spear, thinking he would have been killed instantly without it. The guy concentrates intensely, channeling his last breath of mana into fiery energy between his hands. He grips a fiery sword tightly, standing amidst scattered rubble with a tense and focused expression. The man with a determined expression begins to speak, saying, "In that case," as tension builds around him. A hand tightly grips a blazing fiery object, flames flickering intensely as the scene conveys a surge of power or determination. The man charges at a giant icy monster with a flaming weapon, declaring, this is his last blow. A trembling hand reaches out urgently while a desperate plea of "please" echoes in the tense atmosphere. The guy fiercely attacks with a flaming sword while shouting to reach his target. A monstrous figure with glowing red eyes fiercely attacks with a blazing weapon inside a bright, spacious room. The character shouts, "Breakthrough," with intense emphasis, signaling a critical moment or action. This person stumbles through a shattered icy doorway, breathing heavily and showing signs of exhaustion. A large stone figure emerges amid swirling smoke and glowing embers, creating an intense and mysterious atmosphere. He stands inside a glowing circle, looking up with tension as a giant ice figure shatters around him, debris and sparks flying in the chaotic scene. The guy, bloodied and exhausted, struggles to speak as he looks up with a pained expression. The guy, bloodied and exhausted, gasps that he did it, his eyes wide with disbelief and relief. The man lies on the ground surrounded by shattered blue crystals and debris in a large, damaged room. A notification appears, informing the completion of a mission and the receipt of low-grade mana stones and a mysterious reward called Forgotten King's Horn, Fire's Essence. A mysterious, glowing red horn chained in a grand hall appears as a reward notification with is displayed above it. A fiery explosion engulfs an object, radiating intense heat and light, with no characters visible in the scene. A bright explosion of light and energy erupts at the top of the stairs, filling the scene with intense pink and white hues. The guy stands wounded and weary, blood streaming down his face as he struggles to maintain composure. The scene shows a glowing message stating they are entering the Forgotten King's thoughts to receive a reward. The scene shows intense vertical lines creating a dramatic, suspenseful atmosphere without any characters present. The guy's intense red eyes glare sharply, his face marked with dirt and scratches, as he focuses intently on something unseen. He is suspended by glowing golden chains in a vast starry void, struggling as he thinks, "This place is..." The scene shows a system message announcing the acquisition of the Forgotten King's Horn, Fire's Essence, and the entry into the Forgotten King's thoughts to receive a reward. Someone questions if it was the Forgotten King and if the sound came from the Fire Dragon's horn, expressing surprise and confusion. This person, chained and struggling, questions if this is truly a reward, expressing that he feels tortured while a dark voice narrates about enduring the trial of fire and reaching sublime thoughts. The guy struggles with intense pain and confusion, thinking his head might crack open as he questions if these are his remaining thoughts. He raises his arms as a fiery, glowing fragment descends from above, while a voice proclaims the bestowal of the king's fragment. The guy, restrained by glowing chains, reacts with shock as a fiery attack approaches him, exclaiming, "What?" in disbelief. This person is violently thrown backward, his silhouette blurred with red energy and tension. The guy screams in pain, his face covered in dirt and sweat, expressing intense agony. This person unleashes a powerful fiery attack, engulfing the scene in intense flames and heat. The man screams in agony as a powerful explosion erupts around him, his arms chained and body engulfed in bright flames. The scene shows a dark, fiery aura surrounding the text, urging to please use this power too. Without any characters present, the guy screams in agony as he is engulfed by a blinding red and white light, chains glowing around him. This person struggles as fiery chains bind him, while a massive demonic face looms menacingly above in a burst of intense light and energy. A lone figure lies motionless on the sandy beach near the sparkling sea under a bright, clear sky. The man, exhausted and injured, rests his head on his arm while quietly groaning in pain. He coughs weakly by the water, confused and asking himself where he is. The man looks surprised as he sees the castle and questions if this place is Maldiva. This person looks confused and scratches his head under the bright sky, silently questioning the situation. The guy contemplates the notifications about his mana limits and flame attribute advancement, murmuring, as he processes the information. He stands surrounded by a fierce red aura, clenching his fist with a tense expression as energy bursts explosively around him. This man is shocked to realize the mana is his, and notes he is close to reaching the fourth circle. The guy smiles nervously and says, "The reward is amazing compared to the treatment he received back there." The man turns in surprise as someone greets him by name. She stands confidently under the bright sky as someone off-screen calls out her name in surprise. Daria tells Russell she sensed a sudden burst of mana and came to check by the beach bar. Daria approaches Russell at the bar, handing him a drink while stating she found him there. The man thanks someone and expresses surprise at seeing the Tower Master here. He notes with surprise that someone has almost reached the fourth circle in such a short time. The character observes that his mana has become pure and concludes he is basically a genius, while holding a glowing magical symbol on his chest and a drink in his hand. Someone places a drink on the table and asks what brings the Tower Master to Maldiva. The character reveals quietly that not many people know, but this is his hometown, as the peaceful beach and distant town lie under a bright blue sky. The man looks surprised as someone off-screen asks him about his hometown, while a woman drinks from a glass nearby. Daria asks Russell what brings him here, while holding a drink and smiling confidently. The guy thinks to himself that it is too early to tell her the truth. Russell nervously scratches the back of his head, hesitating as he begins to speak with a tense expression. The guy declares with determination that he came here to see more of the world, his expression bright against a radiant background. Daria smiles confidently under the palm trees and asks if she should check the child's abilities. Daria confidently asks Russell for help, offering a drink. While he responds with surprise, a hand snaps its fingers, emitting glowing sparks in the dark. The man stands surrounded by swirling flames, his expression a mix of shock and determination as fire envelops him unexpectedly. He realizes and exclaims that the symbol on his clothing is the Flame Tower's emblem. Daria reassures Russell, telling him not to worry because it's something he can do, while holding a drink and smiling confidently. Russell receives a mission notification to help Daria fight off pirates and pass her test, while she stands nearby with a confident posture. A character behind bars states that Endymion strictly forbids slavery, implying a serious conversation about captivity and laws. Anton explains that human trafficking ships are not allowed to land at their harbor while two men stand behind bars holding a torch. Anton gestures while speaking to the others working on the ship, explaining that something unfortunate has happened. The character reports that some guys are trying to land their ship near Maldiva, while several ships approach the shore in the dark. Seijiro confidently insists he can handle it alone while they navigate a boat through turbulent waters at night. Daria explains that the plan's purpose is to rescue the victims and take the ship, emphasizing the need for a detailed strategy. Seijiro suggests feinting an attack, and Russell acknowledges his quick understanding as they stand together on a boat surrounded by turbulent water. The guy looks tense and focused as he sits in the rain, staring ahead with determination. Two figures speed across the dark sea in a small boat toward a large ship as one thinks about the many mages who would come running, even barefoot. Daria, sensing she is specifically asked for help, casts a spell from a small boat toward a large ship, thinking this must be a test. Two figures in a small boat are seen from above on turbulent water, while one calls out the name Russell from a nearby structure. Daria warns that what happens next might be too much for the other person to handle. The guy reflects quietly as he acknowledges that the path of a guardian is not always smooth and noble. Sejiro tells Russell that this is just another fate of mages while they are in a misty boat. A woman steps confidently onto a surface wearing high heels, the sound emphasizing her deliberate movement. Daria tells Russell she will attract their attention now while he saves the people, as she floats above the water near his boat at night. This man stands alone in a small boat on turbulent waters under a dark, stormy sky. The guy reflects silently on a guardian's path, his expression serious against the dark blue background. Daria descends swiftly from above, holding a wand with determination as a tower looms beneath her in the misty night. This man confidently states that the spot right here should do as he holds a sword under the night sky. The man's eyes glow intensely as he channels a powerful energy, his expression fierce and focused. Someone shouts, "Go, child!" as a figure is engulfed by a glowing purple portal above a ship at night. The character urgently warns that it's an attack, signaling immediate danger. Anton orders the group to move quickly as they prepare a large crossbow to shoot at a glowing, ominous purple energy sphere in the sky. 3 men aim crossbows with glowing bolts, preparing to shoot from behind a barrier under a dark, purple-lit sky. Someone commands to fire, and a glowing purple energy blast is launched toward a ship with red sails under a dark sky. Daria unleashes a powerful pink energy attack, smiling confidently as her hands glow with destructive force. A man angrily exclaims that the attack doesn't even reach her while holding a large wooden weapon. Daria Snow White angrily confronts unseen foes, summoning fiery energy in her hand as she accuses them of hiding in her hometown. She summons small fiery butterflies that flutter around her hand against a glowing pink background. A man challenges his opponent with a bold statement as fiery embers float around them in a tense confrontation. 2 characters stand near a sudden burst of fire on the wooden floor, one exclaiming in shock, "What?" A man angrily demands why the small fire isn't being put out as he stomps on the flames. A fiery kick erupts from the character's boot, sending flames blazing forward with intense force. A man screams in pain as his foot catches fire while he tries to step into the flames. A fiery, glowing figure named Daria Snow White appears, engulfed in flames with intense glowing eyes, radiating a powerful and intimidating presence. A man faces a fiery, glowing figure, while another man watches cautiously in the background. A group of people stands on a burning ship deck surrounded by flames, with one man holding an axe amidst the chaos. He lands forcefully on the wooden deck, steadying himself with one hand as his cloak billows behind him under the night sky. Russell urgently tells someone to move, insisting that it is nothing. Russell watches tensely as Anton stands with an axe near burning figures on the ship's deck, silently recognizing the scene. A man swings his weapon fiercely at a fiery magical figure, recalling Daria's destructive magic that toppled an entire castle. A fiery figure silently marvels, thinking to see it in person. A fiery attack suddenly erupts, causing a shocked reaction from the unseen character. This man is engulfed in intense flames, his figure barely visible through the fire and smoke. A man reacts with shock and urgency, thinking to himself about what happened in that split second. 2 shocked men react with fear and disbelief to a sudden transformation, one exclaiming, "It transformed into that?" A guy tells himself that right now isn't the time to be amazed while standing on a wooden staircase at night. He steps through a doorway, thinking he must rescue the people while Daria distracts them. The scene shows a dimly lit prison cell with metal bars and a lock, accompanied by sharp metallic sounds echoing in the silence. A man sitting on a chair asks aloud what is happening upstairs, his arms crossed and expression serious. A man notices the Navy's arrival and declares that they are saved. A powerful slash erupts with intense energy, shattering the surroundings in a sudden explosive attack. A shadowy figure threatens the trembling captives, declaring they will never escape their grasp no matter what happens. This man demands confirmation while gripping a large weapon, standing tensely by a barred door. Russell suddenly grabs Anton by the collar from behind, startling him with a firm grip. A man declares lightning with determination as he raises his arm, preparing to unleash his power. He rushes toward a larger figure engulfed in crackling blue lightning, reaching out as the intense energy surrounds them both. A man screams in agony as his face darkens and his eyes glow intensely, while a hand grips his shoulder firmly from behind. A man observes quietly and thinks that, as expected, none of them went upstairs. He, gripping the bars, asks if someone has come to save them. A man notices something unexpected behind the wooden bars, his expression tense and alert. A guy responds with a slight smile saying, "Yes, but..." While standing in a dimly lit wooden room, he advises that it is safer to remain indoors until all the pirates are gone. He kneels behind bars, clasping his hands in prayer and expressing relief that his prayers have been heard. He wonders aloud how many people are confined in the small area as he stands beside a fallen figure in a dimly lit corridor. A man looks shocked and tense, his red eyes wide open as he reacts to an unexpected event. He is shocked to see a child imprisoned and questions if they are really selling a kid as a slave. He clenches his teeth in anger and mutters that they are trash-like bastards. A man cautiously asks who is there, as he hears footsteps approaching in the dimly lit wooden corridor. Anton and another man cautiously approach Russell standing over a fallen figure in a dimly lit wooden hallway. This man reacts with shock as someone collapses on the floor beside him. A man shouts to get the bastard while swinging a sword aggressively. Anton and Russell cautiously approach a closed door in a dimly lit corridor, each holding a small light source, while a third figure watches from behind. A guy, surrounded by crackling blue energy and chains, declares with determination that he will be the one apprehending his target. A man unleashes a powerful chain lightning spell, electrifying the chains that bind the group as they brace for the intense magical attack. This man steps forward cautiously through a misty, dimly lit corridor, tension evident in his movement as dust swirls around his feet. He, struggling on the ground, mutters in frustration that the other is a mage. This man warns that if the captain comes, there will be lightning. A character quietly steps into a wooden room, the soft light casting shadows on the floor. The man approaches a barred cell and asks what it is, his curiosity evident as he peers inside. Someone asks from behind bars if the other is a mage from the flame tower. He summons a glowing orb of light in his hand, illuminating the dark, barred surroundings. This man, holding a glowing orb, exclaims in surprise upon seeing elves imprisoned behind bars. Anton asks Russell if he is a mage from the flame tower while standing behind bars. He wonders aloud if it is because of the emblem shown on the cloak. He firmly refuses, saying he is not a member of the flame tower yet, dismissing the matter with indifference. The character behind bars demands impatiently for the door to be opened already. Russell thinks about opening the door but finds someone's tone kind of annoying. This man contemplates silently while this man wonders if he should leave, considering Anton's pride and reluctance to be called an elf. Daria firmly tells the crowd to mind their manners as she faces them with her back turned. A silver-haired woman with pointed ears sits chained on the floor, quietly asking, "Elo?" In a dimly lit wooden room, the hooded man tells the silver-haired woman that he is not an ordinary human while holding her hand gently. Russell listens intently as the woman explains that he possesses mana as pure as the light from a sunset. Someone states that they can smell the scent of spirits from a certain person. A serene, elf-like woman with long braided hair gazes softly forward, illuminated by gentle light in a calm, quiet setting. The man questions the meaning behind a statement with confusion, while a calm Daria Snow White sits in front of him, and a hooded figure stands silently behind it. She contemplates deeply, her hand near her face, as soft light illuminates her thoughtful expression in the dimly lit room. The man stands silently in a dimly lit room, his expression tense as he gazes toward a bright light source. He expresses disbelief about sensing a spirit from a human while standing beside the man. The guy sniffs the air anxiously, questioning what scent he is detecting. He quietly mutters, "The Flame Tower's mage." While looking thoughtfully at his hand in a dimly lit room, the man watches silently as the silver-haired woman and the blonde man exchange tense glances in the dimly lit room. He looks surprised as the elf pleads through the bars, asking to be rescued from captivity. Russell urgently begs from behind bars while Seijiro and Daria stand before him, surrounded by others in a dimly lit room. He reflects on how the elves, known for their strong egos, were changed by just one sentence from her. A character wonders if the woman with long braided hair is a high elf or something even more advanced. He utters "Guardian" as his hand grasps a glowing, steaming padlock, indicating a moment of tension or revelation. Russell asks the woman if she has defeated all the pirates and bosses while they stand facing each other in a dimly lit room. The guy, surprised and confused, questions bosses? While holding a glowing object in a dimly lit wooden room, a person lies face down on the wooden floor near a barred gate, while another stands nearby, noting that they are even more powerful. A warrior confidently states that his warriors are very skilled with magic while gripping a weapon inside a wooden structure. Two unconscious figures lie on the wooden floor near empty cages in a dimly lit room with an open door. This man smiles with a sinister and confident expression, his teeth clenched sharply in the dim light. A tense battle erupts on the ship's deck as one man shouts, "Damn it!" and another screams in pain amidst the chaos and flames. The guy mockingly comments on a fight of flames while resting his arms on a wooden wheel. A bald man grips the hilt of a large sword, preparing to draw it in a tense moment. A figure unleashes a fiery slash attack, creating a blazing arc of flames that lights up the dark surroundings with intense heat and energy. A character stands firmly as fiery embers swirl around their feet on the wooden floor. This man mocks the others for struggling against a simple attack while holding a large sword, prompting someone to exclaim that the captain has arrived. Daria confidently announces the captain's arrival and threatens to rip the opponent to pieces. Daria Snow White smiles confidently, surrounded by a glowing purple aura, and remarks that the situation is interesting. A sudden, intense purple energy surge erupts into the dark sky, filling the scene with ominous tension. A character steps down the stairs with glowing pink energy surrounding their high-heeled shoes. Daria stands on the ship's upper deck surrounded by a glowing aura, as the others look up at her in shock and tension. Daria stands confidently on the railing surrounded by glowing red flames, holding a sword while two approaching figures prepare to confront her on the ship's deck at night. The guy smirks and asks if the other is closing the distance between them, his tone filled with challenge. Daria smiles confidently and remarks that he seems to be the captain. A man with an eye patch boldly declares himself the captain of the ship, introducing himself as Don Click. A character wields a glowing sword while stating that the other is using aura. A bald character questions someone, suggesting they must have once been a knight, and asks what they are doing here. A man questions whether the honor of a knight provides meals and pays taxes, holding his head in frustration while shadowy figures stand behind him. The man with an eye patch laughs maniacally while accusing the Click brothers of profiting greatly from the slave trade. Daria, with a surprised expression, questions the word brothers aloud. Russell tightly grips the sword's hilt, a dark aura glowing around it, signaling a moment of intense determination or impending action. Anton shouts, "Now!" as he raises his sword to strike at Daria. Daria unleashes a powerful glowing slash attack, surrounded by dark energy, as she hovers above a wooden structure under a stormy sky. Russell narrowly avoids three glowing attacks piercing the wooden wall behind him, tension rising in the dimly lit room. He urgently warns that something is dangerous, his expression tense and eyes wide open. An explosion erupts violently, scattering debris and dust across the scene. A shadowy figure stands behind a wooden door, surrounded by swirling dust and smoke, creating an ominous and tense atmosphere. A man is caught inside a glowing purple barrier, clutching his arm in pain, as a voice urgently asks what just happened. The character notices broken spears on the ground and questions their presence with surprise. Anton asks if the other blocked the attack while observing a figure surrounded by a glowing shield in a damaged wooden room. He, surrounded by a purple aura, faces a knight who declares he must be a mage, prompting Russell to wonder if the knight is truly one. A notification appears describing a difficult fight against a swordsman with a reward of 5 intermediate-grade mana stones upon victory. Daria warns Russell to be careful, her expression calm but serious as he looks away in the dimly lit room. A menacing figure with glowing eyes declares he is the vice captain of the ship, holding a wavy sword amid fiery surroundings. A man with a slight smile remarks that the other person is still a kid. The character questions why the opponent only knocked others out instead of killing them during the intense fight. A bald man taunts this guy about killing opponents after winning, then threatens to demonstrate, while Russell readies himself with a determined expression and fiery aura. The man thinks about the destructive nature of flame magic while electricity crackles around his arms in a tense moment. A bald man casts Circle Magic 3 Lightning Bolt, striking a figure in the distance with crackling energy inside a wooden room. The character questions the use of lightning against a swordsman as the ground smokes and cracks from a powerful impact. The guy dodges a powerful blue lightning attack while counterattacking with a red energy slash inside a wooden structure. Electric blue energy crackles violently around shattered wooden debris as a voice commands to use the brain a bit. The guy unleashes a powerful lightning bolt, realizing his attacks are ineffective against the bald opponent who confidently declares his immunity to the magic. A bald man with glowing red eyes charges forward fiercely, wielding a sword crackling with blue lightning energy. A hand grips a sword emitting crackling blue electricity, signaling the start of a powerful attack or defense. Russell Raymond reacts with shock, exclaiming, "A non-conductor?" as his eyes widen in disbelief. The guy unleashes a powerful lightning strike downward, his glowing red eyes piercing through the stormy darkness. Russell Raymond strikes a glowing sword against a powerful purple energy shield, causing a bright explosion of light and sparks. A powerful purple energy barrier crackles intensely, emitting bright sparks and light, suggesting a fierce magical or energy-based confrontation. A man breaks through a purple energy barrier with a glowing red sword, his eyes wide with determination and intensity.